Hi everyone, and welcome to What the Fuck Show. This week we're talking about LGBTQ plus allyship within the community, and probably touching on things about from without as well, allyship from without. With Will and I this week, we have the ever brilliant Purple Rhymes with Orange. Hi, Perps.
Hello.
We have Johnathan. Hi, Johnathan.
Hi.
We have Kitty. And we have Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hiya.
So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it.
How's everybody doing this week? How's it going?
Yep.
Nice to meet you, Johnathan. First time. How's it going?
Nice to meet you too, Godless. How's it going?
Great. This is definitely a topic near and dear to my heart. I hope Purple comes back. He dropped out.
Oh, Purple.
He'll come back.
It's suffice to say I've had a long day, not because the day's been stressful, but because it's 3 a.m.
Understandable.
Because it's really early for you, isn't it?
Feels like 3 a.m. for me.
So what are the joys about
kid you'll play after the stream?
My kid is the Energizer Bunny too. Like, he'll be up. I have to tell him to go to bed. He drops. He just kind of drops, you know.
There was a time my son was playing, and he played right through nap time. And this is going back to when he was a toddler. He's playing, and then all of a sudden you just thunk at a right angle, dead asleep.
Absolutely.
He will go until he has nothing left.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a very strongly autism thing, because some days I'll do that. I'll keep going and working, and shit, it's 4 a.m. and I've not eaten.
That's about the only way I actually sleep.
I feel like my inspiration doesn't show up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It's one of those.
I've always been a night owl too.
Yeah.
No, I work 20, 30 hours in a solid block and then get up, go to the bathroom, and sleep for 10 hours.
Absolutely.
I wish I could sleep like that nowadays, but these days I tend to sleep in about 3 and 4 hour blocks, which is, and I need about 7 hours of sleep a day to be functional. So it's really weird. It's I find it really hard.
I've discovered I can make myself sleep if I have like a bit of a joint.
I mean, that'll help just about anybody sleep.
Yeah.
Unless it makes you paranoid. And then, you're kind of shit out of luck.
Yeah. The thing with that, though, is because of my autism, lying on a bed is uncomfortable.
Huh.
And when I have a bit of weed, the sensation reduces sufficiently that I can sleep.
That's actually understandable.
Yeah, because of course extra sensation from being...
Absolutely. So,
in honor, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Kitty.
No, I was going to say, in honor of, allyship, I figured I would do my makeup in bisexual pride colors.
Awesome.
The blue, and the purple, and the pink.
Awesome.
And it looks gorgeous.
Thank you.
That's one thing I don't. I need to get a bi flag. That's one more thing to tick off my neighbors.
See, I live in Alabama, and I like not being shot. So.
Fair.
where I live,
women have an easier time of it, I think, with being queer or bisexual or lesbian. Like, lesbian, not as much. Like, I live in Florida, so I'm surrounded by a bunch of, bigoted honkies, too. And but I find like the bisexual women, like the guys think, oh well, maybe I can get 2 women if I got, like they seem to be more okay with it than they are with either lesbians that are going to reject them, or they just think that they just need a good dicking and they won't be a lesbian anymore. Like, that's how any of that works.
Well,
I
that's always
have a boyfriend, and I have a better chance of getting with 2 women than most of these guys who feel that way.
And honestly, you probably know how to please them better too.
That's always been a
I mean,
thing
this
in
is
society.
Channel. You got to show a little bit of skin, and you got to talk about sex, right?
Yeah,
Be
exactly.
kind, be considerate, and be open to trying new things, but don't force yourself. That's just what you got to do.
Absolutely.
Pretty much.
You brought up. No, go ahead, Sam.
I found that a lot of the time, I don't realize when people are hitting on me, partially through being demisexual and partially through having autism. And so I've met people who've hit on me for a week straight, and someone's had to tell me.
Is it bad that I find that a little adorable?
That makes me question some things about myself because I've had some similar situations.
And so because of this, I frequently find myself in situations where I'm like, I have like a low self-esteem day where I'm like, I don't think I'm attractive. And one of my friends is like, Sam, you've had 3 people hit on you today.
I've had a similar situation like that. Being bi, I've had people more or less shocked, and they're like, "What? You're what?" Because I present a certain way, and they think I'm a certain way, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "You're what?" It's almost like, "Are you kidding me? Are you joking?" You know, because we all have these preconceived notions in our mind of what bisexual, what a gay person. You know, it just makes me laugh.
There are preconceived notions of pretty much everybody on the spectrum of the LGBT, alphabet mafia.
Yeah.
But as a society, we tend to act like bi men don't exist.
And bi women.
And being biased, to tell a terrible joke, being biased. I feel like most people are bisexual, but that's my skewed view and my skewed, look.
I honestly think, like, I mean, there's some that are like solidly hetero, but I do think it's a gradient. It's like a sliding scale. Like, even for me, I'm bisexual. I am more sexually attracted to women. Like, if I'm gonna go for porn, it's gonna be lesbian porn. But I find myself more attracted romantically to men. Like, it's easier for me to relate to a relationship with a man. I have more men that are friends than women. Like, there's very few women that I actually get along with well enough that I could see, a possible relationship. Like, it's possible I could, develop, romantic feelings. But usually for women, it's about the sex appeal and the sex, and men, it's about that companionship. If that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's something.
Exactly the same.
I am, despite being demi, which is a form of grey ace, I am pan. But I have a policy not to date cis men, not because there's anything that I take issue with cis men, but because I personally have terrible taste in cis men.
So it's self-preservation.
Yeah. I've actually been stalked by somebody to the point where I had to go to the courts for this particular man, so I understand. After like, getting in a physical altercation with this person, I'm like, I'm not going to do this again. So I've been stalked. So
Fair.
I have one of my
stalked too, actually, now that I think of it. Like, back when I used to work at Walgreens, I used to have a friend come and pick me up because management wouldn't walk me out to my car. Like, I ended up quitting that job because they weren't, like, this guy was coming in and, like, he would buy something and then hang around and just try to chat me up, like, trying to hold up the line. He would wait for me when I got off work and, like, accost me to start talking to me again. And, like, he just kept showing up. And management wouldn't do anything. So I'm like, fuck this. I don't need this job. I'll go
I'm
find
dating
something
my
else.
stalker, so.
Show of hands. Who all here has been stalked?
But consensual stalking and non-consensual stalking. I mean,
I've been stalked for real though. Like, I've had to get 2 restraining orders on people.
It never got that extreme. I yeeted out of there and they didn't know where I went. I always made sure to take a winding path home just in case. And once I stopped working there, I never saw them again.
Okay, so it's crazy. You have to do that.
I did get stalked as a kid. That's an unpleasant and potentially triggering story.
It's funny. It's funny that you would say that, Kitty. I had a job. I worked in Portland, Oregon. I had a one of those crummy fast food jobs, and there was a man that would come in every day, and he would try to talk to me. But as a man, I was just like, hey, if I'm not returning his advances, I'd walk away. I'd just kind of laugh at him. But he would come back every day, every day. And when I came back to Portland 5 years after that, I saw him and he was still like up in my face. Like it's the strangest thing, but it's different for me because I feel like I can physically defend myself. if it really came down to it, you know?
I used my wits. I had a situation when I worked a crummy fast food job at Burger King, and the manager was basically sleep with me and I'll promote you. And I'm like, no. So then he accosted me. So he tried to kiss me in the break room. So I'm like, okay, like I knew, all right, I'm out. And it's actually not the first job I quit because of sexual harassment. Like you'd be well, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised, like how often people get harassed in the workplace, especially if you're female and decently endowed. So I used my brains in this, and where I live, the clerk of the courts, all traffic records and everything are online. So I looked him up to see if he had any traffic citations, and he did. So not only was I able to get his address, but the courtroom he was supposed to be in, what he had the ticket for, the day of his hearing that he had. I go in and I spout all this off rapid fire to him, and like he got really freaked out, and he didn't touch me again for the rest of the 2 weeks because I put in my 2 weeks notice that day, and he didn't want to be anywhere near me because I scared the shit out of him.
Yeah,
That is very nice.
once he realized you had a way you could retaliate.
Yeah.
I was like, I will go to your house and tell your wife what you did.
Oh,
Have any of you been blatantly discriminated for your sexuality?
I have not.
So I am lucky in the sense that I found this out about myself while I was in the employ of somebody who didn't mind and thought it was a okay thing and engaged in a bit of nepotism for me. So I'm okay.
Absolutely. I was disowned by my family, so to speak. Not necessarily disowned, but it's one of those things where it made everyone feel uncomfortable. And I never hid my sexuality or cared to.
I disowned most of mine as an atheist. Or
it kind of either or.
For me, it's actually been a big advantage in my work because since I do home repairs, I'm going into other people's houses. So once it got around that, I had the skills to do all the home repairs and I was open to all kinds of alternative lifestyles, people were okay with me coming into their homes where they wouldn't want most people to come in. So like for 6 years, I got virtually all of my work through the local gay community.
I need to add that to my business card.
Different gendered or different sexually, you're going to be a threat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people are, sexual. A lot of people first don't admit their own sexuality, and then they take their self-hatred and anger out on others. That's kind of like denial 101. So it's, a repressed person sometimes is easy to spot. Because they want you to justify who you are to them.
So 3 years ago, I thought that I was a cishet neurotypical person.
Yeah, I relate.
Now it's very obvious. Like I am like very visibly queer, and I'm non-binary, and I'm acknowledging the fact that I have a laundry list of mental issues. So I've really learned a lot about myself, but some of my friends were just like, "Took you long enough." Like one of my exes, Rose, is a pansexual trans girl, and
Hey, Sammy.
When I came out to her as non-binary, she just gave me a hug, said, "You took your fucking time," called me a Dembo, and we continued playing cards.
I think
when I was growing up, it wasn't talked about in society at all.
Absolutely.
And like nobody in my family ever talked to me about it. So by the time anybody got around to talking to me about sex when I was like 16, I'd already had a girlfriend and a boyfriend. So it was kind of too late to worry about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know it's I'm a little bit behind the conversation, but you reminded me of something, Sam. I was kind of stalked, I guess. I don't know if you'd call it stalking. When I was 15 or 16, another boy, because I was quite gothic back then and used to wear face makeup and stuff. And one particular boy, but there was sort of 4 or 5 that would do it with him, would actually drive around and look for me just to bash me. So there was probably a 2-year period where every car that would approach, I would sort of hide behind a tree, or it was quite a horrific time.
Absolutely. Was that
Sorry you went through that, honey. That's horrible.
was that in the 90s, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, or early 2000s. Actually late 90s. Yeah.
I'm from that same era, so it was kind of like that here too. Even I'm from a really liberal area in California, and it was still like that. If you were openly anything, people would try to bash you.
Yeah.
See, I am fortunate enough to not have grown up in kind of that age, as it were, but I grew up in that environment because Pentecostal family.
Oh,
wow. Ugh.
And yeah, that was a thing. Also, why I didn't.
Any of us who've grown up in religion, though, Sam, because I mean, if you grow up in a religious family, even if it's not heavily religious, there is a reluctance to talk about alternative sexualities and identities. I mean,
well, how can you when the answer is always goes back to a book, when it's always Jesus or it's always God, you know?
And it's always this is wrong. You shouldn't do this.
Exactly.
Something I find. Something I find really funny.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say I find it really funny that most of my family still probably think that I am a cis-het person just by looking like this and constantly wearing leather.
In fact, the only people in the world that know I'm actually pan are this YouTube community. I basically haven't come out in my real life. As most of you know, I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and in fact, it was only 2 years ago that I was able to shake. I left the religion long ago, but shake the indoctrination enough that I didn't see my homosexuality as something twisted or something was wrong. I still thought it was something that I was choosing.
Very much so.
I mean, you can imagine the psychological mess that creates in a place.
I was raised Catholic, and kind of in the same way we're told, like, the ground would literally open if I touched another man, and I'm gonna go straight to hell. And you know, it's I always joke that when I moved to Hollywood, I found out within 15 minutes that was false.
Yeah.
I found out real quick that was false.
I was brought up very much in a bit of a. There was always a bit of a taboo around anything that would be LGBT or trans stuff, but it was never explicitly explained to me. Yeah. And so I understood that it was bad, but I didn't know it was actually a thing. Which might explain why I successfully repressed all sexual attraction till the age of 15, despite having had a libido at the age of 9.
Nikki Daly, is it Daly? Brings up a really good point about as a trans woman, I don't like how LGBT are fetishized, especially being trans. Yes. I've been in the bathroom at a gay bar and somebody thinks, oh, it's just open season. It's like, I literally walked in here just to pee. I just walked in here to pee, and they think it's a party time. People do fetishize you. They think, oh, you know, we're the same.
Especially straight people. I mean, if you're if you're a bi or pan woman, a straight man will think that, oh, you're a good option to get a threesome.
Oh my God, it's like, that is so frustrating.
Or even if you're, I've known lesbians who've had straight guys show up at lesbian bars trying to pick up a lesbian so that they can have a threesome. And I'm like, she's not interested in you, you dumbass.
I've heard people
No, then
doing
they're
that.
the really pushy ones that think, oh, they just need good sex. And I'm like, honey, if you think your dick is magic, is going to turn somebody straight, you probably don't know how to use it to please a woman. So, like, focus on one woman at first before you trying to take care of more than one. Okay? Thanks.
Yeah, even when I thought I was straight, all of my friends, especially my female or female presenting friends, would all come to me and just be like, "Hey, I'm getting creepy messages off this guy. Here's my phone. Go nuts."
Yeah. I think the ones that really get it the worst are trans women, because there are so many guys who want someone who will pass as a woman in public and they can still get the dick.
Yep.
Oh fuck.
Absolutely. And we're see, there's two sides to that street, because like yikes, where I live in Los Angeles, we have a large prostitution problem. Just in general. And it's not because
a problem.
No,
It's
but my point is
Shaming.
no, I'm not. But my whole point is, it's still to this day. There's a saying: those people wouldn't be out there if people weren't looking for them. And you see a lot of trans women, and LA is known for trans women. And so if you go down a certain street, you'll see people everywhere, and it makes me laugh because people want to date a trans woman, but it's more about the experience and less about actually being with.
Most cis guys, if they want to be with a trans woman, they just want they want the girlfriend in the closed apartment where no one's going to see what's happening. Even if she passes really well, because they don't want anyone to ever know that they've done this.
Yep.
And there's a lack of. Even if they really like the person, there's a lack of wanting anybody to know about it, and that's a shameful avenue. That's a shameful thing about our society at the moment, that it's somehow,
absolutely
it's somehow taboo to even be with someone like that.
But if you look up like Pornhub's numbers and look in the South, what are people in the South looking at?
Chicks with dicks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Like,
it always got me.
A lot.
Yeah, they want that girl peen.
See, a lot of trans women eventually want bottom surgery, but being non-binary, my transition is interesting, and basically to where I want kind of androgynous body fat, and then I want a chest, but also a dick. And so I've had exes just refer to my end goal as bisexual wet dream.
Bisexual wet dream?
I mean,
Junie, I want to say hi to Junie, because Junie is waiting patiently, like Joe Biden in front of that White House. Waiting patiently.
Good evening or good morning, wherever you're at.
Awesome.
Sorry I had to show up a little late.
That's all right.
You were waiting.
Very interesting conversations we're having, though.
Yeah, I feel like we had an original topic, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, it was AllyShip, but we're doing it right now.
But we're skirting around it.
We're actually, you know what though? We're doing it right now. We're doing it right now. It's about AllyShip,
Yep.
It's just sharing stories.
See, I think that the big thing is I've noticed a lot of the time asexual and bisexual people tend to be a lot more accepting of each other than lesbians and gay men tend to be as a rule.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of a that's
I used to think
school.
that I was ace.
But people on the whole tend to be more accepting of trans people than
this is true.
A lot of gay and lesbian people.
So
I don't know why that is, because the struggles are very similar between all the groups. This is the bit that gets me with allyship within the community. It's like there has in the past been an element of I've got mine, I don't care about yours anymore.
So there is actually sort of an answer here, Jen, is that I've met a lot of gay men who say bisexual people don't exist and asexual people don't exist.
Yes.
And I think because of this attitude, though, I think that bi people get on a lot well with ace people because they get erased, and ace people get along well with trans people because they both get pathologized.
I cannot count how many times I've had bi men tell me that you're just gay and don't have the guts to admit it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, so I've gotten as much flack from gay men as I have from straight men.
I feel like by proxy, because both ace and trans people are pathologized and both bi and ace people are erased, bi people tend to sympathize more with trans people than gay men potentially do, as a general thing.
And all those parts of the community also get that thing of, well, you're not really part of the community, or you're lying about who you are. Because bi erasure is a big thing. Bi and pan erasure is a big thing. You're not really bi. You're just saying that you're still like the people of the opposite gender. You're really gay, or you're really a lesbian, or you're not. You're in a heterosexual relationship. You can't be bi, and that's just bullshit.
The issue
So
with
annoying.
that whole argument is, where does pan come into that? Because I'm attracted to all of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But the people who do the erasure treat pan exactly the same as bi. They don't see it as being any different.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've had someone tell me, "Oh, I used to be like you. You'll get to be like me." It was a gay man who was like, "Oh, you'll be like me one day, so don't worry about it." You know,
I've telling me that for 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I have been told frequently that my being queer is just being spicy gay, and my being non-binary is either being spicy trans woman or spicy cis guy.
The erasure in the trans community that you get with from binary trans people to non-binary trans people is ridiculous. The number of binary trans people I have heard say, these are just people who are experimenting, they'll eventually come across the whole way. I have heard that said about non-binary.
I've heard that as well.
Speaking of erasure and trans and allyship, has anyone seen anything from the Drop the T movement lately?
Okay,
because that movement scares me.
The LGBT Alliance is a hate group. They are a hate group. I'm saying this completely unfounded, but a lot of this comes from the UK.
Oh, it does.
And he dropped out. He'll come back. A lot of this comes from the UK, and I think they're well funded by places like the Heritage Foundation, just like the TERFs, just like these people are well funded. And it's nothing more than a hate group. They want to, it's nothing but trans erasure.
And it's disgusting because my trans brothers and sisters, like, honestly, I think they have it way worse than someone like me, you know? Like, honestly, like, I find that I'm attracted to, like, a broad spectrum of things, but I keep the bisexual label rather than taking pansexual. One, because I've always had it, and two, because there is such a demarcation for me where it's the feminine that I find sexually arousing, and the masculine that I find emotionally comforting. And because I tend to prefer sex with one gender and romantic relationships with the other, I think that the bi kind of fits me a little bit better. But that's not to say that I'm not attracted to trans people or non-binaries. Like, I mean, a lot of it is personality for me too, more so than physical. But like, honestly, labels, I've always had trouble just with labels because there's so many shades of gray where you have someone like me. I identify as bi. Like, I have had sex with women, I've had sex with men. I'm not going to say one's better than the other because I get different things out of it. It's like, with women it's fucking, and it's all about just feeling and sensation. And while I can get that with men too, especially if bondage comes into play, because that is all about sensation, like I find more comfort. Like, I guess it's because I can be best friends with men, and I have very few women that I can be best friends with. And for me, a relationship has to be built on a solid structure of friendship, because that lust, that animal attraction that you have at the very beginning, that's not going to necessarily last forever. When you've been in a relationship for a very long time, like, that kind of passion tends to fade a bit. And so having a strong structure of, like, you know, a mutual respect and love and support leads to a much longer lasting, healthier, happier relationship in the end, which is, again, why I tend to date men, fuck women.
Yeah. If you switch all the gender references there, I think we're on exactly the same page. That, yeah, you know, mostly it's like, I enjoy sex with men. It's very rare for me to develop emotional attachments with men.
For me, sexually, I'm after different things between men and women. I like women who are stronger than me. I like men I'm stronger than. Like, there's a difference.
So you're a
Totally understand that.
Don't get me wrong, my boyfriend's pretty tough. Love him. Absolutely love him. But I could kick his ass if I wanted to.
I'm still struggling with my sexuality and understanding it. I was recently looking up different terms because I saw under Will's profile a while back was the adventures or something along the lines of. Well, I know it had the word technosexual.
Yeah, it was I used to call myself a technosexual because you know, most of my relationships were online. So you know, it was one of those, I'm a tactile person. So I consider a lot of us technosexuals. Here's a new title to ruin your life. Here's a gift from Godless Hoeing.
Yeah, as far as the labels,
vibrators are technology. So,
but the thing is, like, I come from a generation, like, in my generation, I went out of my way to get away from labels. So as the years have been, you know, brought on, labels, everybody's labeling themselves. Someone like me is like, whatever, just wash your hands. That quite literally is my rule. Like, whatever, just wash your hands.
Real quick, like, on the vibrator thing, it just reminded me of something that I saw on Stephen Colbert, like yesterday, I think. And there was a guy that he had essentially a chastity belt dick sleeve thing that for whatever reason he hooked up to the internet. So a hacker was like, your cock is mine unless you pay me Bitcoin. He couldn't get the thing off apparently without like and I'm just like, oh. So I'll have to find the link to that and I'll put it in the chat. It made me laugh because it's like tragic, but it's so funny, and I feel bad for laughing, but like, it's kind of funny.
Oh wow,
poor guy.
It is, and you can actually get them off, but you'd have to like go to a blacksmith or a like a key. I forget the name for it. Is it the people who like
locksmith
and stuff? Yes, you'd have to. A locksmith could probably get it off, or a blacksmith, or someone like that.
Now, that'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Could you remove a lock for me? Where is it? Well,
you're standing there looking like a professional wrestler with this weird.
So I will say, as a person
this buzzing noise and you're walking funny.
As a person who repairs furniture and used to do it for a living, if you're discreet about what you do and you don't put people's business on the air, you can get a lot of business that pays well.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was saying, that I got a lot of business from LGBT people and from pagans.
Absolutely.
Because they knew I wasn't going to mention what toys I saw or what books they had on the shelf.
I can imagine that being big.
I worked for a company where we went in after the fire department and cleaned people's houses. You would not be surprised how many people have dildos in their house. You would. It's like basically every other person. It's like every other house.
I'm utilitarian. I have a bullet vibrator because that's all I really need. Like, I mean, I got access to dick if I need it. You know, like.
I don't know.
I-
Like, my boyfriend and I tried out a vibrating cock ring, and it just didn't work out for us. It didn't provide the sensations we were hoping for.
Was it too much? Just too extra?
No, it wasn't enough. It just didn't do it.
Awesome.
You need one that's like a fucking jackhammer. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So I have.
Well,
several-
he's too, big for me anyway. So
I already have. Oh dear.
we're working on it.
You just
There are
painted
worse problems to have.
Yeah, you just
There are
painted a
definitely
picture
worse
like
problems.
Picasso right there.
I love that. I love that. He's
No, like I'm not a small guy, but he's impressive.
hung like a donkey.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, toys just don't
Oh.
do it for me because the texture's not right. If it's not alive, it just doesn't feel right.
I know what you're saying.
You know, they do make these at-home kits that you take a silicone mold of your partner's
Absolutely.
member, and you can make a sex toy that is shaped just like them.
I've done that, but it's the surface texture feels wrong.
Casting materials versus
Hey, and
ductile
apparently you can make
materials.
chocolates out of it too.
Oh, the chocolate butthole. Oh, yeah.
An inanimate object doesn't respond either, so
Well, I've been with partners that I would have done better if they didn't respond. It's like once they started talking, it's like, no, you're too stupid. I can't go through with this.
hi Nikki.
I shouldn't relate to that as hard as I do, Purple. That's probably bad.
How's it going?
It's going. Yeah, I got a whole slew of complaints on that shit that you guys were talking about.
Oh, complain away.
Oh,
Well, it's
On the toys.
Thursday night. Complain away.
Yeah, the whole. I'm not kidding. The area I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, it seems like transgender women are heavily fetishized and sexualized, and that's all we're good for. I have been trying to, I'm bisexual. I can go both ways. I've mostly been with women most of my life, so I know a lot of what I'm doing down there. With men, I used to be one. I know how to please a man. But the problem is I'm at that point where I'm trying to, because of some of my past relationships with women, I'm trying to steer clear of women for right now, as far as an emotional relationship, and try to go after some men, and it's making it difficult because it's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, want to come blow me? Or can I eat your ass? Or can I do this? Or can I do this? Like, no! Can we fucking go out to the coffee shop?
At least buy me dinner first. Fuck.
Yeah,
Right?
I have.
and then eat my ass.
Yeah, exactly. I have rules.
I think everybody likes to be wooed.
Absolutely.
I consider myself a fairly masculine man, but I love to be wooed. Like, that is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I was walking home from the VA one day because that's where I'm working and that's where I'm a veteran, so I get my medical coverage from the VA.
Awesome.
That's how I got on hormones.
You did too. Congratulations.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm taking I'm taking estradiol and spirulactone or whatever it's called.
See, I thought the Trump administration was like basically gonna, force them to not pay for hormones for service.
I believe that
members.
was active duty.
That was active duty. That wasn't
Got
vets.
I'm sorry,
Got
Nikki.
it.
You would know better than I would.
And like for like the surgeries right now, it would take an act of Congress for us to get surgeries at the VA.
Oh,
So
wow.
gross.
No.
Yeah,
The
that'll
VA.
hopefully that'll change under Biden though.
And this
But
is
VA is
another
a
reason.
I
very
will say this.
political
I
organization.
will say this. If it hadn't been for the VA, I wouldn't have gotten this far, and I've gotten this far in under 2 years.
Well,
That's
congratulations,
pretty
Nikki.
impressive.
Congrats, honey.
Well done.
But
That's
no, I
awesome.
will say this is one of the reasons why I was saying, like, yes, bisexual women like have an issue with being fetishized and with, you know, men pursuing us just because they think that they can have threesomes and so on and so forth. But I honestly think that, you know, our trans brothers and sisters, be they straight or not, like, they have it so much worse, because not only do they have to struggle just to exist as they are, you know, and as they truly are, and like not how they were born, but like how they truly are,
Give me
they
one
have to
quick
struggle
second.
just to get by and just get to a point where they're comfortable with themselves, and they have to deal with the fetishization on top of that. So I mean,
Yep.
my heart goes out to all of the T's in the LGBT plus community. Like, I feel for you, and I just, it bothers me that people care so much about what someone has in their pants and who they want to fuck. Like, as long as it is a consenting adult, I don't give a fuck what you want to do, who you want to do it with, you know, how often you want to do it, like what gender they are, what, you know, sex they are,
What
like,
hole you want to put it
it
in?
doesn't matter. Like, just a menagerie of all the different flavors of the rainbow. You go for it. You do you. Like, just everybody should just mind their own fucking business, and healthcare should cover transition because it's a fucking necessary medical expense. And honestly,
Yeah.
like, we don't, like, as bisexuals, we don't have to deal with that. We're just dealing with fetishization. You guys have a whole shit ton of other things you got to deal with. So, like, I apologize for, you know, anybody else, you know, in the community or out that just does not get that, you know, that they want to, you know, contribute to the fetishization, or even worse, like trying, you know, like the hate group that Will was talking about earlier, like just erasing the T's. Like, they are right up there with the ones that want to like include freaking pedos in that too, and like, no, you can fuck right off with that shit.
Yeah,
Well,
I was going to say a
The
couple
thing with
things on that.
acceptance is
But-
your acceptance only extends as far as nobody else is getting hurt. Well,
So
nobody else is getting unconsensually hurt.
So I have a
It's
I have
the
a-
BDSM checklist: safe, sane, and consensual.
so I have a question
Exactly.
for
And
you
safe
guys.
words.
Do any of you have a pride in your towns where you live? And then I have a second question after that.
Oh yes, in Chicago there's the
Actually,
Pride Parade.
I actually helped organize my town's pride last year, despite not being out.
Awesome. So my second question is, in your town, do you guys have separate prides?
So
I
I don't
wouldn't
even
know.
have an original one.
No.
The closest thing I would have is the Secular Humanist Society, which I had to start.
Oh wow.
I will say
Jim?
this. I've only been in Kansas City for probably about 6 months, and it's been during this pandemic. So I know that there's one or two prides here, but I do not know what their thing is.
You have
So
to
in-
change towns in the middle of a pandemic? That's rough. I'm sorry.
Well, I was homeless, and I still technically kind of am homeless. So,
Oh,
but yeah, I'm building a
Bullshit.
$3,000 computer as we speak. So, you know, perks of being homeless and having friends.
yeah.
Absolutely. One of
Yeah,
the
we
reasons
don't-
I oh sorry, go ahead, Purple.
We don't have anything in the city I'm in, but I'm like 75 miles out of Minneapolis. And I had been told, this was back in the early 2000s, that Minneapolis had the second largest Pride Festival in the country.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
Hmm.
That's awesome. One of the reasons I asked that is because in Los Angeles, it isn't blatant, but we have a white pride and a black pride. And I have a friend who runs Pride in Georgia, and they do the same thing. So they basically have two separate prides.
As far as I know, here we've only got the one, but like we also have Gay Days at Disney, and then we have Pulse nightclub here as well. But I don't think that there's separate prides in Orlando. But I could be wrong. I just know of the one.
And the one in West Hollywood isn't everyone goes there, but we have one specifically in Long Beach, and it's mainly people of color that go there. So when I found out the same thing happened in Georgia, it was a question I've always wanted to ask people.
That hurts my heart.
Oh yeah.
Here it is like the thing is that I live in like a small cluster of towns, and each individual town except the one I'm in, actually, well, except the village I'm in, does Pride, but the town closest to me doesn't. I helped arrange that one, but it means I get to go to like 6 different Prides. but none of them are like separate or anything. There's no groupings for it. It's just everyone goes to Pride, and there will be throughout the year smaller events and groups that meet up and stuff for people with more niche identities.
Yeah.
But that's the closest we get.
In Australia, we tend to only have the gay and lesbian prides, and but they're not exclusively that, but they were named that originally, so they've kind of kept the name. But they do have bi and trans representation at them. So, but yeah.
So they should change the name.
They should change their name.
They're pretty big.
I'm sure Sammy will back me up on that.
You know,
the fact that our prides are called gay and lesbian pride, they don't actually call them LGBT pride.
Yeah.
Even though they're inclusive,
they are very
they basically push the
that was
gay and lesbian first. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same
and
for
Australia accepts it fairly well too, compared to other countries.
Yeah. Except
a lot of straight
isn't
people
too
go
bad here.
to it.
Yeah, that was the same for when I was living in New Orleans before I even came out. I was told, oh yeah, there's a huge, gay, lesbian, bi, and all that parade, and it was like, cool. I'm kind of in the closet, and I'm not gonna.
I've actually
not New Orleans, not New Orleans. That would have got me shot.
I want to say probably, like 17 years ago, I went to San Francisco Pride, and it wasn't for the faint of heart. It was kind of, it reminds me of what I picture a Roman party. Like just
Saturnalia, but with like the rainbow.
Because we all have stereotypes and certain things, and in the car my friend was like, "You're not ready for this," and I was like, yeah, you're a rookie, get out of here. I was not ready. I was not ready.
No. Like it's on my bucket list to go to like Pride in what was it? Was it Portland, or I think it was Portland and San Fran.
I've been to a Portland Pride. They, surprisingly for a place like Portland, they're extremely open-minded, so a lot of people showed up. And they had a full parade and everything. It was awesome. This was 16 years ago.
I should rewrite my bucket list now that I know that I like cock.
Time to revisit it.
Even from like just the party and just watching standpoint, I'd never seen so much ass in my life. There's so many people walking around with their pants off. Never in my life.
I really needed some point to go to Boscastle Pride. Boscastle is a place in Cornwall, and last year I went on holiday to Cornwall around the time of Boscastle Pride, but I didn't know it was on until afterwards, so I couldn't even suggest going, even if I was out. But as we were driving through, we saw like the after parties and stuff, and there were people dressed up in all sorts of costumes. I saw several of the Avengers. I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of them.
When I was younger, the gay and lesbian pride in Australia, the LGBT pride, it really was just a gay and lesbian pride back then. So the welcomeness for people who are bi or trans was not there. That came later, and by the time they opened it up and were more accepting in and of themselves, I lost interest. It's like, I can't be bothered doing that.
There was in LA, in a place called Silver Lake, every year they have a festival. It's the name is horrible, but it's where the gays meet the gangsters. And it's basically where the ghetto meets the rich area. And every year they have this giant festival, And it's strange to see two giant like cholo gangsters walking around holding hands. It's the greatest. It's the greatest thing. And
That
then
sounds really fun.
and you know they always have like washed up rock stars like, and I'm gonna say it, Andrew WK was there. Who else? Quite a few people, you know.
Unfortunately, as happens with most everything in our society, now that the pride events have become visible and accepted, they're being taken over by corporations.
Very much so.
Yeah.
They're also being
Yeah.
taken over by a lot of heterosexual people who just show up because it's a party.
Well,
I'd like to add
pisses
that
me
is not
off-
allyship. That is
What really
not.
pisses
fucking
me off is like the Minneapolis Gay Pride, Coca-Cola has an exclusive contract to provide all the beverages for it.
Aren't they?
And the Coca-Cola company has an abysmal record for gay rights.
Yeah.
Aren't they staunch Republicans? The Koch brothers are like staunch Republicans, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, but the Koch brothers are not with Coca-Cola. That's
Oh, okay.
not direct. But the Coca-Cola
Oh, it's
company,
legal here. Sorry.
yeah, the Coca-Cola company has a very bad record as far as, you know, gay employees and things like that. So I don't think it's appropriate for them to be sponsoring this because obviously they're just in it for the money and they don't give a damn about the cause.
I mean, that's the problem with
Exactly, it's just
capitalism
profits.
at its core, is the fact that it's heartless and it's all about the money and not about the human element.
Every
As a corporation,
Right,
you
or
have a
legal.
legal responsibility to your shareholders. And I'm not even trying to disagree with what Kitty said because Kitty is completely fucking right. But as a corporation, you have a legal responsibility to your shareholders. It is not even that capitalism is inherently evil, which I think to a certain extent it kind of is, but that our legal system encourages the uncharitable nature of corporations.
You know, I'll walk it back. It's not inherently evil, but it is heartless and amoral.
Yes.
It
No,
doesn't care about
and that is the
what's
design
best,
of it.
It
just
is
what makes the most money.
because even in certain sports organizations, I don't want to say they sell. At least in America, they celebrate Pride in stadiums where people could care less, and they're booing while they're saying, "Oh, today we're celebrating." You know, they'll say, "Oh, today's Pride Day or Trans Awareness Day," and people are booing. You know, and at least in hockey, they shut it off because they don't want people to know that they're not supporting the sponsors. You know,
They started doing that when they realized that LGBTQ plus people have wallets and spend
Exactly.
money.
they do that, especially at a place like the Dodgers exploit it. They could probably care less. I'm a huge Dodger fan, but they recently started doing LGBTQIA plus day at Dodger Stadium. And they should have been doing it a long time ago because LA is an extremely open-minded place.
Plus?
I just like saying that. I heard somebody say it, you know, I heard someone say that to make fun of people in the community, and I took it and made it positive. So I just say
I
it.
do that all the time.
It's mine now. I took it. I just say it.
I just kind of did like the shorthand, like not to erase, but like LGBTQIA plus, like it's a mouthful. Like LGBTQ plus, I think, captures most
I've been
people.
calling us the alphabet mafia.
Well,
I like that.
What
I like
do
that
people think about promoting the GRSM instead?
I do like that because it's not just the traditional, but it's also like it would incorporate, polyamorous people. And, I think that it, or even people into BDSM, like it is literally it takes all of the different niche, groups, minority groups, and kind of puts them under one cohesive label that doesn't have to keep getting amended 30 million times.
Yeah, I like it
People
because it
who
seems
would have-
inclusive, but we have to get it out there and keep explaining it to people.
Yeah, people who would have historically been derogatorily called queer.
Pretty much.
Which is a label I'm comfortable with for myself, but I recognize that other people aren't comfortable calling themselves that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I found that when I was, in the LGBT groups in Minneapolis, they were good with queer and they were reclaiming it to use for everybody. And when I moved to New York and I used queer casually, I was offending people.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if it's a word,
used as a bad term.
I don't know. I think that if it's a word that was traditionally used to like stigmatize and marginalize a person, if you're part of that group, you should be able to reclaim it and not, because if you feel comfortable with reclaiming it, obviously it comes down to your comfort levels, like, then go for it, because then it can't be used against you in a negative way. If you're like, yeah, I'm queer, what of it? Like, then no longer can someone just call you queer and like you have armor. You are literally taking it back, and it is now your armor, and it's just like, don't care.
That's why I took
but it does kind of require group consensus.
That's true, but that's why I took back the plus, because the person who was saying the plus was a trans woman who trashes everybody in the community. And they get notoriety just for trashing people in the community. And I was like, I don't know. I just, I couldn't see myself turning on my own like that. And so I stole that. I stole their saying. I stole it from them. They honestly, I don't know why. I try not to let people online bother me, but this person, like, every time I watch a video, I'm like, why am I watching this hate-filled human being?
Did they have a YouTube?
Yeah, they're no. I don't even want to say their name. They're I get caught up on
conservative.
Yes.
Then I think I know who you're talking about.
I get caught up in how polarized the UK is right now in their politics on how they are towards people in general. So it just shocks me on how backwards things have become.
Yeah.
So there's just
I'm rather.
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
I am rather fond of the label GRSM, and it freaks a lot of people out to hear me use it the first time, I think, but after I explain what it actually means, pretty much everyone that I explain it to has liked it, even a lot of my cishet friends. Although I don't actually have many of them left, because all of my friends from high school are one by one coming to me and coming out as some sort of trans or queer.
Well,
it's always me. I don't understand how.
Was saying earlier about within that and Will as well, within that spectrum, more people are away from that cis-het side of things than actually are truly cis-het. It's just whether people see it in themselves, because it's a curve, and I mean, effectively, why would you have these? Why would the majority of people being pushed at the two farther edges of it, of being exclusively heterosexual? It doesn't make any sense. And if you go back in history to places like Rome, where sexuality wasn't so much frowned upon, you find that the majority of people, okay, not all those relationships were healthy, but majority of people were to some extent bisexual or pansexual.
Yeah, I've felt that it's not just the spectrum; it's like a bell curve.
Yeah,
you have a rather small percentage of people who are on either extreme of totally gay or totally straight.
Yeah.
And that you have a much larger percentage of people who are up near the middle.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people are quite fine with, okay, I'm attracted to both, but I am going to be hetero, or I'm going to be gay, because there's now we're doing gay and hetero erasure. No.
I get what you're saying, where it's like, the people for the longest time, they're like, oh, well, being gay is a choice. And it's like, for someone like me, I mean, I guess in a way, like, sort of, like, where it's like, because I'm attracted to both, like, I could choose to prioritize one side of my attraction over the other. But so for anyone who's choosing, like, they're already on the bi-pan scale. Like, they're making
you can only make a choice between one side and the other if you're actually attracted to both, and that is the point. So if you're somebody going, I could choose to be gay if I wanted to, that's because you're bisexual.
My nana said to me, go ahead, sorry.
I feel like when we're talking to people who are just involved with the Christian heteronormative view of things, we're constantly fighting against these expectations that already exist. And it's hard to have a discussion with people when you define things so differently than they do. For us, sexuality is about who you're attracted to, not who you choose to be with. It doesn't matter how many times I try to successfully get that dick up my butt. I'm still a bi person.
Yeah.
Like, you can have preferences. Like, who you're attracted to, like, has nothing to do with your preference. I mean, it does, but like what I'm saying is like what you prefer, I mean, is not the same as what you're actually attracted to.
Exactly.
And it's just like some people prefer skinny people, some people prefer, you know, thicker people, some like blondes, some like brunettes.
Yes.
Like it all comes down to what's aesthetically most appealing to you. And, you know, like that is the part that you get to, you know, kind of like narrow in and decide what's best for you. But that doesn't mean that it's not part of that bigger scale of, all right, they're coming from over this side or that side. And, you know.
Yeah, but then also, people say...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Judy. What was
people
that?
also say...
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Sam.
People also say preferences, but it's really funny because the amount of people who say that and say being queer is a preference, and it's like, no, I would prefer not to feel threatened, but also I've had some of my friends who are straight girls just be like, genuinely, I wish I was a lesbian because then I wouldn't have to deal with men.
Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say, there's a huge difference between like preference and attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make Kitty's point.
Yeah. Well, some of our preference comes from our upbringing and our socializing, because in a sense our preferences are quite often a social construct. It's not an innate ability to us. It's what we've brought up with. It's what we've known as the norm. There's an education to our preferences. It's what we're used to. It's why you know why we tend to be attracted to the things that we're used to around us, and we don't go
Very
something
much so.
different.
It's funny. I kind of break the mold with that a little bit, like, because when I was younger, like, I would have gotten like in trouble or at least side-eyed if I had brought home a person of color to date. But like when I got older, like I pretty much only dated people of color. I don't like date white guys anymore. So like I don't know if that's a little bit rebellious on my part, or like if it's just, you know, I honestly don't know why I have that particular preference. But honestly, like I've never had a good relationship with someone who was white, like mixed or you know, some like community of color. Like I have had much better success and much healthier relationships.
Well, and certainly, you know, your experiences influence your personality. It's going to influence what you find attractive in the future.
I was gonna say that as well,
Yeah,
because I was raised.
Your preferences can change.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
and to some extent,
It's fluid, and
go Sam.
something I find really funny about gender is that the way kind of gender is defined, not just in terms of definitions, but also within society, gender builds off itself almost as a social construct once it's gotten there. Like, because gender is not only your relationship to your sexual characteristics, but also your relationship to your how you are treated as your perceived gender within a given society. And so it kind of builds off itself, and that kind of I think that's where a lot of the confusion about stuff like this comes in. That people, when we say it's a construct, people assume we mean it is just this made up thing and it's not a physical thing, when in fact it's both.
Yes.
But there is an abstract thing built off and it's, I think though, because of this, and this kind of goes back to something that was said a minute ago about needing to redefine terms with people. Every time I explain to a friend who is not trans how gender works, I redefine sex and gender for them before we even have that conversation at this point.
Yeah, I've actually been experiencing some bullshit too, even at the VA. I mean, the VA has been great, but I've had some issues with them too. One of them was being misgendered multiple times.
I think
Not necessarily. Well, it's not necessarily 100% their fault because it's the way the medical records are structured for the VA. I can't have a preferred name on the same line as my legal name. They got to dig really far down to the medical records to say, "Oh, hey, well, the one place the entirety of the VA that should have that switch automatic is endocrinology." Because you're only going to endocrinology for a handful of things. If you're not diabetic, you're not anything else that has anything else to do with the blood or any of that. You're a man coming up there to get on hormones. They should know, oh, hey, this is a trans woman, and I should at least call them by their last name. And then when I meet them,
do you feel that's on? Sorry, do you feel that's on purpose?
With one of my last experiences, I think it was because it would have been a cultural thing.
Because there are certain people who are, especially in America, people are going out of their way nowadays to let you know that they don't like you.
This wouldn't have been that. This wouldn't have been that. This would have been literally a cultural thing because the doctor was okay, but the nurse that originally saw me, I'm not going to put anything on blast because I don't want to come off as a bigot, but she was not from the United States whatsoever. She was from a third world country. Hence the reason why I say it had to have been a cultural thing.
I've had culture clashes. I've had major culture clashes with people.
I'll note it down. But when she called me back the next day, it says, "Oh, hey, you're clear." The doctor says you're clear to take the testosterone blocker. It was straight up my legal name. She did it even after I said, "Hey, is this such and such?" I go, "Yes, this is her." You know, trying to give her the hint, and she's like, "Okay, blah blah blah." She didn't even try to correct herself after that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it sounds delicious.
But I will say this
the VA
though.
Is good at the VA is good at.
Well,
and what the VA is bad at.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly. No, that's true. That's very true.
One thing I will give them credit for though is they are trying to teach their employees this is how you do this, and most of the ones I've gotten after the first visit, they'll jot the name down, and by the next visit, they've got it on par.
That's good, at least. I mean, at least there's a change happening, and there are people that are trying to be understanding and inclusionary. Now, Jen, you were a few minutes ago going to say something. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Yeah, I can't remember now.
Sorry.
I completely sidetracked myself there.
You know, Sammy, he kind of reminded me of something that's happened to me. Has anyone ever tried to assault you because of your sexuality, or perceived, or what you were wearing, or anything? I was on a certain side of town in Las Vegas. I was walking. This happened like 6 years ago. I was walking by myself from what's considered the gay side of town in Las Vegas, and a group of guys pulled up, and they were like, "You're a faggot, this and that." And, you know, I'm aggressive, so I'm like, "Come at me, you mother effers!" And they took off. But it had been a while since anyone had ever approached me like that. It had been a long time.
I played in the orchestra for Jesus Christ Superstar. And at a post party production, the cast was there and a few friends of the cast, and this guy came up and started trying to set me up, and I'm just not interested in anything. Anyway, one of the cast members came over and told him I was trans, and he turned from trying to chat me up to being all aggressive, and to the point that his mates had to escort him from the party.
That's so fucking gross.
Yeah,
I had
his whole point about it was, and the only reason he got aggressive was because he'd been attracted to me.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
He's
not rare.
hating
Wow.
himself and
Party
taking
once.
it out on you.
Clearly, it was your fault he had an erection.
Yeah, it's not really
Shame, Jen, for shame. How dare you go around giving
Oh, boy.
bigots erections? Like, what the hell's wrong with you, woman?
With your magical voodoo powers.
I looked great. I was in my I was in my 20s. I had legs to die for, and I was wearing miniskirts. So, I mean, I looked fucking awesome. But
Fuck, I would have hit on you. Jesus.
We're laughing, but that happens a lot.
I've got a few more kilos on me now. My legs are a bit older. So,
I had the same thing happen. That I had a guy hitting on me at a party, and when a mutual friend told him, that I was a guy, he got very threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I hadn't been doing anything to encourage him, but it just really upset him.
How dare you exist, apparently.
I had a
How
similar
dare you
experience
be
in what
cute
you
and the
guys
wrong
had.
sex?
I remember the same group of people that were part of the light opera group that I was part of that did the Jesus Christ Superstar production. At one of the other, we had that was one of the post-production parties, and then we had another one later on at a different place. And one of the guys who was part of the group says, "You know what we should do next? We should do Rocky Horror Picture Show because Jen, you'd be great as Frankenfurter." And I just looked at him like, "What the fuck are you on about?"
I had a
I
similar
think I'd take a
experience
bit
not too long ago.
magenta, but I mean,
Oh yeah, I'd love to play magenta. That'd be awesome.
I had a similar experience not too long ago, where this was we had a really bad snowstorm coming up. I was planning on going to work because I'd missed a couple days because of holidays, and I wanted to make up for it. Well, went to go to the bus stop. The bus was running because the snowstorm was so bad they hadn't got the snowplows out yet.
Oh.
So, I was pissed because I wanted to make that money. I'm building a multi-$1,000 computer, and I need the money. And I came back, came back to the place where I'm staying, switched coats because it was fucking cold, went back out for another cigarette, and this guy I've had a kind of he's one of those ones that's not all there up in the head. And I've been noticing issues with him. Nothing like blatantly outright, but for the last month or so, I've noticed every time I walk out, when he's out there, he starts making comments underneath his breath. And I flat out turned him. Kind of like the same thing with you. I get aggressive when people have an issue with me.
I've had to learn to dial it back.
And I flat out told him. I go, "You have a fucking issue with me." He goes, "Yeah, I don't like gays." I was like, "What? What?
What?
That's a different part of no." Huh?
That's part of the ignorance too, though.
Yeah.
People
ignorance
they
and bigotry. Like, that's why, like, going back to like the topic, like, you should literally be supporting each other and backing each other up, not having infighting, not having erasure, like trying to
Absolutely.
understand that, other aspects of our rainbow family, like, they have different struggles, and
But we also
they
have a lot
have
of the
different-
same struggles because the prejudice that we receive externally is the same. I mean,
And any disagreements we have need
It's
to be
just being
behind closed doors if we can make that happen.
yes.
Like,
I mean,
we
I'll
need a
give you an
united
example
front.
for trans women when you're dealing with TERFs, and TERFs will try to say, "Well, trans women don't experience misogyny," but that's absolute bullshit. Because if you pass well, you experience misogyny because the direct assumption of everybody around you is you're just another woman. So, which we are other women, but that's not beside the point. I was making it. That's
The way to tell if you're the way to tell if you're passing well as a trans woman is if you're getting harassed.
Well, no, because you can
Yep,
be
that
harassed
is
as a
exactly
trans
how.
woman just for being a trans woman. So it goes both ways. But the misogyny is there exactly the same. I have experienced exactly the same things where I was working. One of the places I was working, I went to the front desk to deal with a customer who came in, and they asked to speak to one of the technicians from out the back. I was the head technician. But I had to go and get a guy to come and talk to this guy because he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't believe me. And then the person I went and got had to come back and get me to talk to them because I was the only person who actually knew what they were talking about. Granted, this person came back and gave me flowers to apologize. But that wasn't...
Progress.
That
Progress.
was purely pure misogyny. Absolute pure misogyny. And, you know,
Wow.
I get that because I get it all the fucking time. I probably get more of that than I do the trans stuff because, generally speaking, I pass pretty well. So I cop.
Yeah.
I cop the normal misogyny more than I do the trans hatred stuff. I mean, I will cop that too. I cop a lot more of that online probably because I'm open online. But, I mean, in public, I don't talk about that I'm trans unless it comes up because it's nobody's fucking business, basically. You know, it's like, who I sleep with is nobody's fucking business unless I want to make it their business. You know?
And I think one of the reasons that we've had to, come together is because people scrutinize people under the umbrella. And I think we should remember that. Remember why we're here in the first place.
Oh,
Because we're stronger because there's more of us together. And
very much so.
That's the bit that has annoyed me most. Where especially there was a big push, especially after gay marriage got through in so many countries, of some people in the gay and lesbian community going, well, we can just step away from the LGBTQ plus flag now because we've got what we wanted. We have our rights. Screw them. And there are a lot of people in the community who actually think that, who then go... And these would be the same people who practice bi-erasure as well, because no, you really have to be one of us. You're not something different. And that hurts the community as a whole, because the fight for acceptance and rights didn't end with gay marriage. It never did, even if you're gay or lesbian. Minds have not completely changed. There are... In most countries, like in Australia, we had a vote on it. And it only really got over the line. It was, about 60% for the yes? Was that about right? Sammy? Oh, he's on the phone.
Oh, he's on the phone.
It was about 65%. That is not a huge majority vote saying that we should have gay marriage in this country.
No, that's not.
I think it's higher than what we would have had if we had a vote on it
compulsory in this country. That's shocking. That's shockingly bad, and that says a lot about the lack of support. And that is where we have to fight these ideas of places like the Heritage Foundation, of the Catholic Church, of the Jehovah's Witnesses, or the Mormons, and people like that who are constantly pushing down on us. And say, you lot of perverts, you lot don't deserve a part at the table. Because that's fuck off. We're human too. Most of the people within your organization. I mean, the Catholic Church, you've got kitty fiddling priests, and you have the right to turn around to consenting adults and tell us what we can and can't do.
But
fuck you.
Yeah, fuck right off with that.
That's what bullies do. But that I call it the cry bully approach.
Yeah.
They're yelling and screaming, "Oh, you're hurting me. You're suppressing me," as they're hurting others.
Just real quick, we should all take a moment to appreciate Sinead O'Connor, because when she ripped up that picture of the Pope, that was to bring attention to the child sex abuse scandal a decade before it came publicly to light. So,
Absolutely.
Kudos on her. Yeah. Also, fuck the Catholic Church.
Also, Sinead O'Connor is fucking hot.
Yeah.
And she's a Muslim. She's Muslim now.
Is she?
Really? I didn't know that.
Look it up. This is the things I learn on YouTube. I wasn't trying to burst your bubble, but this is one of the many useless facts I know. She's a recent convert. She's a recent convert.
It's one of those things. Like, it seems like the people that are the most against our community are the ones that, like Jen was saying, have like all these skeletons that whether they're in the closet or they've come to light, it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, the Mormon Church. Like, I mean, they're like, I don't want to say as bad as the Catholic Church, because like the Catholic Church is much larger and they've been shuffling around the pedophiles for a very long time. But the Mormon Church has a serious sex abuse like issue, and a lot of these like uber religious people, like it's so fucking stupid, because it's like we're not hurting anybody, you know.
No.
And
Well,
them
not
getting
only
upset about
consensually.
who, right, like them getting upset about who we
I'm
consent
not
to
into
and
kink
want to have
shaming.
sex with is literally like going to a sandwich shop like a Subway and getting mad at the person in front of you because they didn't order the same sandwich you're gonna order.
Yeah.
It's like,
When
fuck you, I'm gonna have my own damn sandwich. You know, like, you can do you, have your sandwich, enjoy it, but
And some
no.
of us like a sandwich that's half and half, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
one of my favorite sayings, if you're not into gay marriage, don't have one.
Yeah.
Some of us appreciate the roast beef.
Exactly.
Some of us want a hot dog. Some of us like a loaf.
But hey, you're forgetting something. But my book.
But my book, my whole book.
I think I
heard
just
my
saw
name.
my brain. I rolled
It
my
says
eyes so
Yeah,
hard.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the
You made a point
goddamn book.
during that, Kitty. And I had something I was going to add to it, and I honestly can't remember what it was now. It's just gone from my head. No, it was there and it's gone.
I just said that was
It doesn't matter. But I can ask Sammy now that he's back. What was it was about 65% people that actually voted yes for gay marriage in Australia, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like.
It was an embarrassingly low
69.
yes vote. I mean, it was high. It was more than enough to get it by, but
Yeah.
it was embarrassingly low.
That's a close finish.
Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, it's better than it
I
would have done
remember
here.
thinking it was about 2/3.
Because even here, when we have votes on things like that, we're in the 70 to 80% range. I'm talking about
Cali.
the state of California. Yeah, in California.
For America
Yeah, in
as
the
a
whole
whole, you'd be
country,
lucky to get
though.
50%.
Even here in California, we have laws where if you blatantly misgender someone and you're just a complete a-hole about it, you will get fired. It's a law. Well, if someone enforces the law is a whole different subject, but you know, people are protected here.
So if
See,
California,
here in
like,
Alabama,
Go
you
ahead.
can be fired for your sexuality.
That's
End of
so
story. You
weird
can
to
be
me.
fired for your sexuality.
yeah,
Oh, that's
same
so
in
weird.
Florida. It's a right to work
Oh.
state, and there's no protections for people.
Arizona's like that too.
And see, that's something I found out that was funny, because the United States passed, shortly after the trans ban from the military, that as a federal law you couldn't discriminate against sexuality anymore, or
Yeah.
or gender, or identity, but yet we can't have trans in the military. What the fuck does it make a difference? What bathrooms, first of all, they
Because they have
use,
this unrealistic
and second, what's the
expectation
fuck's in
of
their
costs
pants?
for helping trans people.
That will change with Biden. That will change with Biden. It will.
Yeah, I know.
It will be addressed and changed.
But that unrealistic cost of medically helping trans people has come about because your healthcare system sucks.
I know
Yeah.
this. But all right, put it in perspective. All right, so most other states in the United States, if you're in poverty, you can get ish medical coverage. I live in Missouri because I'm biologically male. Guess what? If I didn't have the VA, I wouldn't have medical coverage.
That's insane. That's
Yes,
insane. to me.
even in Florida,
Unless I was 65 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does
like
vary
the
so much
social
from
safety
state
net
to
programs
state.
here are very discriminatory, and like they added like work requirements where it's like if you're an able-bodied adult without dependents, or sorry, without minor children, or without children. I forget, but there's like this acronym for it, and you have to work in order to get any type of safety net program. It's like, well, what if you can't find a job? Well, you're shit out of luck. And
Exactly.
if you're a male and you don't have a dependent that is with you, then your chances of getting any type of assistance are next to none.
Yeah.
Much lower, yes.
How is it in, excuse me, in your state, Purple?
Well, Minnesota's a pretty liberal state, so the the Medicare coverage is fairly decent.
Yeah. How about you, Junie, in your state?
In Illinois, it's okay. I haven't had much issues with it. Not many surprise bills, either. But yeah, going back to what Katie was saying, if you're male and are homeless, or if you if you're struggling with financially, it's very hard to get coverage unless you're a parent or have a dependent.
Wow, I had never thought of that.
Yeah, there is still a very strong bias for that safety nets are more available to women, and especially women with children. But men without any dependents are basically considered to be lazy if they're not supporting themselves without any help.
And again, I wonder if it goes back to that gender role thing.
I know it does here in this state, because this is a very, very the state I live in is very, very heavily right wing, and it's not just because of political ideology. It's a lot of farm country and very poor redneck hicks, and they usually end up voting Republican no matter what.
It still shocks me how people vote against their own interest. It goes back
because abortion. Because fuck the gay.
Most of the
That's
time,
literally what it comes down to.
Yeah, most of the time, the Republicans can do that by citing a couple passages in the Bible and getting people wound up emotionally over something that really makes no difference to their life.
My grandmother spends her days watching Newsmax and Fox News.
That's
and
my
she is
dad.
quite possibly the most ignorant person with regards to political
It comes down
anything
to the thing with
that could go.
healthcare, though, doesn't it? That we talk about free healthcare, but it's not free. We pay for our healthcare with our taxes.
Yeah, like
and
free at the point of service.
The wealthy don't like giving money, paying taxes to go to other people.
Yeah, but in the U.S., you can see a direct correlation that the states that are most strongly Republican are the states that have the worst programs for helping the poor.
And are the poorest.
And are also the lowest income states. So there are most people that need these programs, and they constantly get the people to vote against them.
Well, here's a fun fact. Mitch McConnell, senator from Kentucky, 10 of the poorest 25 cities in the entirety of the United States are in Kentucky.
Kentucky is effectively dead.
I didn't know it was that bad.
That's so sad.
Like, it's worse than Alabama.
Alabama's bad right now.
I have one of my partners is in Florida, and in their house they have to play music constantly, or they can hear Donald Trump.
Wow.
I can't say he makes me physically ill, but my blood pressure goes up a few points.
I
can't listen to him.
Well, all right.
Dumb person's idea of a
So I had so I'm not only going to the VA for medical coverage, but I'm in a work therapy program, so I get paid to work at the VA, and it will lead me to actually having a full-time job at the VA as a housekeeper or EMS, if anyone's ever lived in or worked at a hospital. And I was going down and I was wiping out the main lobby, sanitizing it and all. My little fucking pandemic.
Yep.
And this staunch Republican, I could smell the Republican coming off him as I was wiping this down.
What does it smell like? Self-hatred and bile?
gunpowder and
Pretty
shame.
much. Well, let me finish.
Yeah.
So, I'm going around to all these little, benches and chairs and wiping down the armrest, And he goes, well, how do you think the 6 is going to work out? And I'm pretty sure Trump's going to win. It's like, I don't think he is. Biden's got this. I haven't seen him since then.
I've had at least 8 people stop talking to me because of Donald Trump.
So speaking about Trump, just a couple of little points I learned today. One, Mitch McConnell has said privately and to other, he said privately that he's glad that the Democrats are bringing up impeachment and that Trump has committed impeachable offenses. So fingers crossed. Also that, he's not going to reject it outright like he did last time as far as conviction goes. But this one is a little bit of schadenfreude, where it's Trump was going to run for 2024 until close allies told him that if he did that, he would have to submit new financial documents that would leave him more open to the civil and state cases against him. So he's actually backpedaled on wanting to run again, and he's actually worried about his financial security after this because Deutsche Bank is not going to be doing business with him anymore. They're trying to collect on the hundreds of millions he owes them.
$300 million.
Dropped him. The PGA dropped him. They are no longer in 2022. They were going to have the PGA at his Westminster Golf Club. Not doing that anymore. He's literally losing. And that's why I think McConnell might actually vote to convict, because he's lost corporate America. And the only thing McConnell cares about is, sucking the corporate overlord's dick.
I was about to say, literally. He is a slave to them.
Hey guys, I have less than a minute of internet left on my phone. I've just reconnected to this because I wanted to communicate that to you. I have had 6 separate tech issues and 2 personal issues come up all at once, so I'm going to duck.
Okay.
Sam.
Yeah, the PGA alone, that contract cost Trump $1.7 million.
And apparently,
I think that by the time he's done with all of the civil suits against him, I think he will be effectively broke.
Oh yeah,
That's a lot of money.
Here's the thing. Sources close to Trump said he was actually more upset about losing the PGA contract than he was about the second impeachment.
Oh wow!
Yep.
To be fair,
everybody enjoy that helping of schadenfreude.
I'll say this real quick. Like many people, even in this community and all the other communities that any of us are a part of, we all are very advocate for free speech. But I am so goddamn glad Facebook and Twitter shut that fucking orange orangutan up.
Oh yeah.
If I was free speech, because the fucker literally has a press room. I mean, you can't complain about being shut out of being able to speak when you have a goddamn press room.
Yeah.
The man was trying to act like he didn't try to, have a full insurrection go on.
Yeah, I really think that for Trump, going to prison
it'll be the closest thing to a full erection he'd ever get.
I need to.
Going to prison would not be as bad for Trump as if he was actually put in a situation where he didn't have all of his money and actually had to work a normal job to pay his rent.
Yeah.
Well,
that would be
fair. To be fair, another caveat on this, and this is rumor mill as well. He might be losing his wife too.
If she sticks around, then I will never call her a trophy. I've been a trophy. I will never call her a trophy wife ever again.
I like to think I'm a trophy.
Hey, you are.
Hi. I'm sure that she's only stuck around this long because of a pretty tight prenup.
And she's also the first lady of the United States of America. That used to mean something. I don't know about now, but that used to mean something.
Jen, I know
about the office of president has been completely tainted by Trump and Melania.
You know the thing about the penalty for defacing a national monument? Can we bring Melania up on that for what she did to the Rose Garden?
Oh, please!
That's
I'm not even American, and that was fucking disgusting.
No, she ripped the roses out. It's just grass. It's not even a garden. It's just grass. She ripped everything out.
What are you gonna do? Like put it in a barbecue pit?
It's just a courtyard now.
Trump would have wanted that. No, I'm surprised Trump hasn't built a McDonald's on the within the White House.
Oh well, I'm glad that they didn't paint it gold like they originally thought they were going to do and call it the Gold House of Trump.
The gates,
like a 1990s Richie Rich style.
The gates at the front of the White House just become golden arches.
Golden arches.
Actually, they could have done that.
You know,
calling it the White House is a reasonably recent thing. That it used to be that the First Lady could have it painted any color she wanted. It's only tradition that it stayed white.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Basically, up until about the 1880s, it was just referred to as the presidential palace.
So what you need now is somebody in the LGBTQ plus community to become president, and we can paint the White House and turn it into the Rainbow House.
I'm not with my boyfriend.
Because that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Didn't Obama do that? Didn't they project?
And they put lights out the front to make it go rainbow. Yeah.
Yeah. Ox just said, what did? She's not the first lady. She's the first mail order bride.
Jen, I'm sharing my screen right now. I don't know if you can see it, but you need to see this.
Oh, okay. Pop it up and I'll see if I can grab it for everyone. Will.
And I know it's safe for YouTube because another YouTuber already had it up there, but it's freaking hilarious.
So Kitty's shared the screen, so I haven't seen it yet. So.
Oh, hi.
Oh, it's Will.
Hey. Let's try that one more time.
I've got it full screen, so because I've only got one monitor.
Nothing's come up.
Oh. Are you sure you shared it?
Well,
yeah, Kitty, you must not have clicked one of the boxes.
Bit down to see if it was there.
Hold on.
if it hasn't come up,
I missed a part.
Select share.
There we go. There we go.
All right.
It'll take me a couple seconds to get it where
I can't quite read the text on my monitor.
Yeah, see how big you can make it.
I think I can go any bigger than that.
I can see.
So there we go.
But
what is this?
It's like if a chick tract had sex with a Tijuana Bible and they gave birth to a baby.
I just thought everybody needed a little levity. It's just.
Yeah.
I only.
Do you want to narrate it?
Okay. Oh, Donald. Yes, Donald. Oh, Donald satisfies. If only I was even half as good at sex as he is. I'm so sorry, Ivanka. In accordance with our Jewish faith, I forgive you. That sex, amazing, Donald. Only amazing? I must be off my game tonight. It's funny, the fake news say I only marry you for your money. I only marry you for your gigantic penis, and it looked nothing like mushroom.
Oh, that's great.
Oh
that's
great. Do you think our president commissioned this off Fiverr?
Maybe.
That's brilliant.
It shocks me how much of a cult has come behind this man. This shows how gullible people are.
If
you're gonna follow,
I must be off my game.
Well,
I thought you guys
actually
were
the best
crazy.
theory I heard.
That's great. That's great.
It's not so much that they're
I love what
gullible,
Jeff said.
but that-
Apparently, there's a rainbow painted house opposite Westboro Baptist Church.
I've seen pictures of that. It's excellent.
That's awesome.
Excellent. I love it.
Hey, can we at least have solace in this? Trump will be the most mean president in all of history.
Most hated, the most
mean. Mean.
Be the most orange.
And he is working towards not only being the first president to be impeached twice. Well, he's been impeached twice, but he's probably going to be the first to actually be convicted at this rate.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, Trump has been impeached as much as all previous presidents combined.
Wow. Wow. I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what accountability is at all.
he doesn't.
He would freak out.
He's a billionaire. He doesn't care about accountability.
Yeah,
But imagine
he has
if-
no concept of his actions having any consequences.
Imagine if you gave him.
Beat the crust first.
This is what you get when you have a rich kid and you don't have him do things like make his own bed, wash the dishes, cut the lawn, any kind of normal responsibilities.
Yep.
Clean up after
Yeah,
the
mom
dog.
probably took care of that too.
He's a perfect example of a kid who his family never told him no to anything.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's that though. I honestly think like his father was monstrous, and like I think it's like part of it is like a deep-seated inferiority complex, and the fact that he is actually inferior. I mean, his dad gave him hundreds of millions of dollars, and if any one of you were given $400 million, you'd be able to do more with it than Trump did with the money his daddy gave him.
Yeah.
Right.
The best.
Straight up, he gave
you
me
could
$50
put that-
million. I could live on it for the rest of my fucking life.
You'd never hear from me again.
How do you bankrupt a casino?
The best comment about that money he was given is that if he would have taken that and put it into just a general diversified package, like something that Buffett would sell, that it would have made more money than he than he did.
He lost it all.
Well, exactly.
He's not a billionaire.
Do you know the president of the United States cannot legally own a casino with gaming machines in them because he got caught being so corrupt? So he can own casinos, but if you go in any of his casinos, they do not have slot machines in them. They're great places to hang out. They're great places to drink. They're glorious, but you can't gamble in his buildings. It's illegal.
Because he's president.
And Jimmy Carter sold his fucking peanut farm.
No, this was before. This is from I want to say the 90s, but it might be early 2000s. Like he got caught a while ago.
Just divest most of his stuff into his family, and then he hired his family, which presidents aren't supposed to hire their own family as White House staff, but he did.
I've wondered about that since day one.
Broken.
The businesses
broken them
he
from day one.
supposedly divested are in the control of his sons.
Who are working at the White House?
No, his sons aren't actually working at the White House. I will push back on that. Ivanka is working at the White House, and he actually committed tax fraud while president because he was literally funneling like thousands, maybe even millions of dollars to her and writing it off to her consulting firm. Like he's done so much freaking tax fraud, and that's why the Southern District of New York is after him, and that's why his fucking butthole is puckering about not being in office.
I just don't get it.
And the IRS is investigating both Donald Trump and Ivanka at this point.
Yeah.
I saw a news report tonight on Inside Edition. The story was all about how has Donald Trump ruined his daughter Ivanka's chance to become the first woman president of the United States. So, it's like, no, she pretty much did that by herself.
So, tying this back into the original topic, Donald J. Trump, 45th president, bad ally.
Very bad ally.
Went out of his way to he went out of his way to let everyone know that he is as well.
Well,
but no, not to start off with. He made a big thing about I'm the best ally that the LGBT plus community has ever had. In his way that he's the best at everything because he's Donald Trump apparently.
He made a ton of false promises.
And then as soon as he gets elected, he gets out the knives and starts stabbing people. I mean, the man's a fucking psychopath.
He also, Mike Pence was his running mate. Let's be real. Mike Pence helped invent what we consider American gay conversion therapy, which is taking people in a room and beating them up and telling them you're not, it's Mike Pence was the worst person.
It's essentially trying to torture the gay out of people.
Actually, absolutely. Well, Mike Pence is complicit. He's complicit. It is. Absolutely. That's why Pence, every time he just looks like a Bond villain to me. A real life.
Well,
no, he's too milquetoast for that. Bond villains at least had a little bit of flavor. Like he's blander than fucking milk-soaked bread.
I agree.
If anybody's watched
just like
Image,
you say about just like you say about gay marriage. Look, if you don't like gay conversion therapy, then don't have any. Okay.
Agreed. Agreed. I love that joke. That's one of my favorite jokes.
Yeah, the problem with gay conversion therapy is it's usually teenagers under 18 that their parents are forcing them to go through it.
Absolutely. Or you get they're just literally hitting you with the Bible and just reading verses to you. It's out of
trying
control.
to exercise you.
I think Judy was trying to say something under all that.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, like, if anybody's ever seen the Spitting Image, the way they portrayed Pence, he just looks like a complete zombie.
Yeah, he does.
He won't sit in a room. Is it true that he won't be alone with another woman?
Yes. I actually know somebody with firsthand experience in this. Well, technically it's secondhand, but it's one of their good friends. Their good friends was a photographer for an event that Pence was going to be at, and this person was a woman, like taking pictures of the venue and everything like that. And Pence like stopped at the doorway, realized that, you know, she was in there, and then started calling out mother. And like she was really confused at first, thinking, oh, well, maybe he's looking for his mother. So she's doing her thing. And then it's, oh, no, he was looking for his wife because he couldn't step into that room because a woman was in the room. Yeah.
That's how much of a hardcore Christian he is. He's insane. That's how much of a hardcore.
I wonder if that's a religious thing or he's just PW.
I actually kind of wonder if that isn't because his wife knows she can't trust him.
Oh.
It's like the people like that have like joint Facebook accounts for like a husband and wife.
Yeah, you got caught. You got caught.
Either you're really controlling or you got caught.
Yeah, exactly. That's real. Whenever you see joint Facebook accounts, one of them cheated and the other person decided to stay.
Or they're just really controlling.
I've known lots of people in my years that he calls his wife mother. And it's always disturbing. I don't care who it is.
Yeah,
it just feels so disturbing.
Well, this is another weird social thing that everybody will freak out if a guy calls his wife mother, but for a woman to call her boyfriend or husband daddy is pretty much seen as okay by most people.
Okay, so here's the thing. I would judge it significantly less if it was a sex.
What was that, Johnathan?
Sorry, Jonathan.
I would judge it significantly less if it was a sex thing.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, if it's a sex thing, that's one thing. But if it's like only referencing that way, and like that's another thing. Like that I don't understand. Like I understand like where if you know a father is talking to his kids and is referencing your mother, okay, like that makes sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
But
go
if you're
get your
talking to
mother, go
somebody
tell your mother.
Somebody else. No.
Yeah, but what? No, it's just weird.
Yeah.
No, I
Well,
couldn't.
there's
It's creepy.
No. Absolutely.
It's like. Did you ever see that movie by the director of Saw with the puppets and the woman that would kill you if you spoke?
Yes.
Silence or something like that?
Dead silence.
Okay, I think Mike Pence is like that. I think Mike Pence is like the guy in the wheelchair who turns out to actually be a puppet. Like that,
And his wife, yeah.
As much
And
as
his
you
wife
feel
is actually
bad
the
about
president.
Mike Pence, Betty DeVoe was
Hey,
worse.
You just reminded me of the clown scene.
Here's a better one. Doesn't Mike Pence look like a real life version of Walter? Anyone who's seen Jeff Dunham?
Yes.
Yikes.
Wow.
I used to think Jeff Dunham was funny, so yes.
Like honestly, like I still have the Ahmed the Dead Terrorist for the ringtone for my mom because she loves Jeff Dunham and that bit always cracked her up. So like whenever she goes to call me, it's the you know, DC pick up the phone before it explodes. Yeah.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, I like Jeff Dunham's earlier stuff. Some of his later characters Yeah.
Walter and Ahmed were always my two favorites. Like I watched it with my mom, like because my mom and I would watch like a handful of things: her soap opera, true crime stuff. She would watch medical stuff with me, but only if it was like related to kind of true crime. So like mystery diagnosis, where it's like we'd be 5 minutes in, and I'm like, "Oh, the bitch is poisoning her husband with ricin," and she'd be like, "It's a new episode. How do you know that?" 15 minutes later, oh shit, the bitch was poisoning her husband with ricin. It's like, yes, mom, because I was the one sneaking up under the roof with a backpack filled with a blanket, a pack of cigarettes, my CD player, and Mosby's Medical Encyclopedia and Grey's Anatomy that I read for fun. Like, I mean, that was me as a
Grey's
teenager.
Anatomy is awesome. What's your guys' tolerance towards people joking about the community?
Depends. If it's jokes made by people within the community where it's self-depreciating, I'm cool with that, because self-depreciating humor is some of the best you can get. When you get people from outside of it, and go to the slapping boy that I really want to go to, Ricky Gervais.
I knew this. I knew you were gonna. That's why I brought it up. Sorry, I was on purpose.
Good partner, nice layup.
I think, he should just shut his fucking hole, because there's a point where you're no longer telling jokes, and you're just deliberately punching down. And
have you ever heard of?
That's my entire problem with Ricky Gervais, is all he does is punch down. You know, I've had somebody argue back with me. Oh, lots of comedians punch down. Yeah, lots do. Lots don't make their entire career out of punching down. Though.
And also,
if all you're going to do is punch down, you're not a comedian in my mind anymore. You're just an asshole.
It's also fairly easy to tell the difference between somebody who's just being spiteful and somebody who's making these jokes because they've had some of these experiences.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas
have you
Ricky
heard
Gervais,
the line about
give a
gaggles?
shit about anyone else. He's all about, oh yeah, I think this might be funny.
What's that, Johnathan?
Have you heard the line about gallows humor?
No.
If you're the one on the gallows, it's gallows humor.
Yeah.
If you're part of the crowd, it's part of the execution.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, true. Like, but absolutely. I don't know. Like, I will always have a soft spot for self-deprecating humor. Like, going off of what Jen said, like, if you're part of the umbrella, like if you're part of the rainbow family, then by all means. I mean, it's like me. I make jokes about my disability all the time, and I'm like, you know, as fast as my crippled legs will carry me, you know, and like I make light of it and I make fun of it because, I mean, one, it's a coping mechanism. You know, when you find out at 19 that you have something you're going to have for the rest of your life, and that you might end up eventually in a wheelchair, you know, like that's not fun. And like I had much, you know, worse coping mechanisms when I was first diagnosed that I'm not going to get into now because we don't need any trigger warnings. But let's just say I find self-deprecating humor to be, you know, a healthy outlet to kind of sometimes you vent your frustrations. And you also kind of, like I was saying earlier about like taking back the word queer for our community, like you're making an armor out of it. So it's like if somebody, and it's rare, but there are people that will make comments to me when they see me, you know, either in a wheelchair, if I'm going to the zoo or a theme park with my family, or even if I'm just going to the store and I have to use my cane to get around. It's like, you know, people, because I'm young and relatively attractive, like, you know, I'll get comments or snide remarks, and, you know, I don't let it bother me, because like I kind of took back that power a little bit by like, I'll joke about it. So then when somebody else that I haven't given permission to jokes about it, it stings less, like, because you've inoculated yourself in a way.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
exactly.
an example
I
of
think
the
it's
community, if anybody does the I identify joke as, and you're a fucking cis-het person, you can just fuck right off, because you're an absolute bastard, because you've got no idea what that actually means. If you're part of the LGBTQ plus community and you're identifying with a sexuality or a gender identity or something like that, you understand what that means. You understand the kickback that takes, and to be able to make that kind of statement is very different, and to joke about it is very different than if you're a cis-het person going, I identify as an attack helicopter. No, you don't. You're just a dickhead who's trying to attack people.
Absolutely.
I think it's entirely possible that there are some cis folks, straight folks, who can take this on in a comedic fashion and not be offensive. I don't see just the fact that that they're straight to automatically assume that it's a bad situation. But you can tell when you hear it, you can tell that there's some people, like whoever mentioned it just before, who are saying it because it's true and they know it because they're a good ally, versus somebody who just says things because they know it digs and hurts.
It will also come down to like you guys are one group of people I'm familiar with. I've hung out with Jen and Jenny both a couple times. Sam even, I think, once. Besides this time, Purple, I've known you for a minute because of iNetwork. But like with VTW on AT2 Productions channel, it's a different group of people. Now a lot of them are bisexual and all that, but we're all veterans, so we have a harsher form of humor.
Yeah.
So there's going to be for us, there's going to be a lot more for a kind of a layman person or someone who is easily triggered. It's going to be a lot harsher jokes because it's not that we're attacking like a trans person or a gay person or that. It's just because, I say, some of these jokes are funny, and if you're that type of person, it's not that type of you. So don't even it's how we associate with each other because we've got our own coping mechanisms. Because again, we're veterans. We've had a shit thing dealt to us too, in a lot of cases.
Well,
and
kind of like you were saying there, that you've got to consider the environment they're in too.
Yeah.
That I realize on some channels that I get on, the same jokes aren't going to fly.
Very much. Very much.
And we all have our lines. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, well, that's what I was getting at. It's like everyone knows the trap memes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the VTW one, they can pretty much fly because it's not coming from a place of ignorance. It's coming from a joke that it was originally supposed to be until people misconstrued it and made it the way it is now.
I know what you're saying, but it's situational.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I can't sit in a room.
Agree.
I can't sit in a room where people are making race jokes, because eventually I'm going to speak up and say something that's going to hurt everybody's feelings, So it's more of a tolerance thing. And there are certain people of color that can't. I have a low tolerance because I grew up in a all white community, so I had to constantly defend myself and constantly, I was that token person of color around all of these people. So I always had to, I had to uphold a certain, I had to know who invented the stoplight. I had to know, who was the first this and that. So, I get a little bit more offended when people joke about race. So it's about tolerance.
Who did invent the stoplight, by the way?
Oh, damn it. You're going to make me pull out the book, aren't you? I knew you were here to give me help.
I learned an awful lot about racism because with my fiance, I was usually the only white person in the room. And that gives you a really quick crash course in it.
We are coming up on 2 hours here, and Perp Show is in an hour, so I was thinking we might start winding up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I go a quick follow-up here?
Yes, please. If anyone's got follow-ups, please. You people
I
who
think
don't
the
have on
key
camera can't raise
difference-
hands, but let us know.
I think the key difference there is that you can't let someone's identity be the punchline of a joke. That's shitty.
Yeah.
You can let it be the setup of a joke, but you can never make a joke of someone's identity. That is a shitty thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent analysis.
And I'll tell you my favorite bilingual joke here, like when we get off. It's great.
Oh, we're getting off? Maybe I should grab my vibrator.
Oh,
Come on, that was for
I
Jen.
want to follow up on that. I got something to pink I got to go get then if we're doing that. So
I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to start getting some vibrator lessons. Did you want to give me a hand with that? Never mind.
I can get mine.
Well, Jenny, you can actually get one that plugs into your USB port, so we could be triggering it for you while we're in chat.
A group discussion where there were a group of us with insertable USB triggered stuff, and a way that by voting different numbers in the chat, they can trigger different people in the panel.
That could be fun.
Yeah, I think you just invented something. I think you just invented something right here, right now. Patent pending.
I would choose the Benoit balls myself.
Hey, maybe that's something that we should
Vibrator
do on
roulette,
YouTube, though.
Vibrator roulette.
Vibrator roulette. Oh wow! Spin the numbers. Who's going to
working title? It's a working title.
The real question is: it YouTube safe?
As long as they can't see it, as long as they don't see it inserted, you're fine.
Good to know. There's always OnlyFans.
I was just about to say.
There's OnlyFans and Pornhub. So.
Vote 1 in the chat if you'd like to see this show.
Well, I tell you what, chat. If you put together $129 plus shipping, I'll buy one and we can try it out. Okay.
Okay. So for a point, I think that whether inside or outside of the community, AllyShip is part about knowing your audience if you're going to be telling jokes, and knowing what is okay for the people around you. You don't want to, someone might accidentally misgender you, and that is really shitty. But if there's no ill intent behind it, it's not the same as someone deliberately demeaning you. And it's a lot of people I know that are in the rainbow family, they have no problem with the term queer. Some might, but the general consensus, that I found, they have no problem with that. But the word fag, they have a problem with, understandably so. So it's again, knowing your audience and how, to navigate. If you want to make jokes and if you want to be self-deprecating, go for it. But again, don't push anybody past what they're comfortable with. Don't push people past their own limits, because you wouldn't want them to push you past yours. And that's just kind of a good rule of thumb for life in general. And it's about making sure that just because you got yours, you got gay rights, gay marriage, that doesn't mean that there aren't others that, are still on their journey, still struggling to get, equal acceptance. And until we have egalitarianism in the rainbow GRSM LGBTQ plus, community, once everybody's treated equal, then, okay, it'd be nice to still be allies, but you don't really need allies once the fight is won. The fact is, it's not one for everyone, which is why we need allies without and within.
Absolutely.
There's a comedy skit done by James Acaster, which I've actually posted myself, but a couple other people have posted as well. Where actually he's having a go at Ricky Gervais for doing a 10-minute stand-up routine where he just shits.
Oh, your hate boner for him. It's adorable.
But at the end of it, he was going about, shouldn't we be treating everyone equally? And he goes, well, no, because until we have equality, we can't treat everybody equally. We have to help people who are treated less in society to help raise them up to being equal. If you see a bully beating up on another kid, you don't walk over, drag the bully off and go, don't do that, it's wrong. Then turn around to the kid's being bullied and go, well, you're a little shit too. You don't do that. So,
absolutely. There's actually... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So you've got to balance that to bring a society up to a level of equality. That's why if you're somebody who's cishet and whatever, a white cishet, and you've got all the privilege in the world, and you're looking around and go, why do we have to give more rights to these other people, or give special dispensation to these other minority groups? It's because those minority groups, on the whole, get less rights than you because of the way society is. So by lifting people in minority groups up, we are leveling out society.
Yep.
And if there's any gay people out there who think that their struggle is over because that now they have gay marriage, they are so badly mistaken. There are groups who are still absolutely dedicated to A, ending gay marriage, B, ending gay people's lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's,
and in the West we take for granted that we're not being hunted because of our sexuality.
I was speaking of the West.
Well, I was just adding on to that. Thank you, Jenny. Again, thank you.
But I'm sorry. It sounded like you were going in the direction of like, you know, this is a non-USA problem. No, there are people right in this country who want us dead.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you as well. No, I 100% agree with you.
Especially the trans people. There's still like 30 states where the trans panic is a legal defense.
Yes.
39.
That blows my mind.
Sickening.
I told my brother that the other night, and he was just absolutely dumbfounded. My own brother had no clue that was true.
Because unless you're in the communities, you don't know that these problems exist. That's part of privilege for people who are outside of these minority communities, is that you don't realize what the rest of us have to fucking go through. And maybe if you took a few seconds and talked to people and understood it from their perspective, what the pressures are on people who are part of LGBTQ plus community that's how you start becoming a better ally, is you start listening, you start learning, you start understanding. You don't
Absolutely.
just say, you guys are right, you've got all these protections. These protections matter not if people don't listen to them. This is why we need education, and we need people to understand that there isn't a form of equality. As Pep said, if gay panic or trans panic is a legal protection in some states for killing somebody, there's not equality.
Why is it legal to kill anybody? I don't understand that. If you kill someone, just go to jail.
Well,
the common sense.
Self-defense.
The trans panic is the worst thing because it means that it was all right that you killed someone because you misgendered them.
Absolutely. That just makes no sense to me. If you kill someone, you should go to prison for that. Not because I found out they were trans. To me that's just I'm not excuse driven. So when people give me excuses, I'm like, oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse. I don't understand it, and I don't say that like, I don't understand it. It's just people. That's just a really bad excuse.
And when you've got Rupert Murdoch, and I apologise as an Australian for Rupert Murdoch, but when you've got people, media mongrels like Rupert Murdoch, creating these vast empires that all they want to do is shit on people that aren't cis, het, or white, you've got major problems in society.
Like, a lot of it comes down to cis, het, and white fragility. Like, they don't want other people raised up. They don't want an equal playing field because they feel that, if you're lifting them up, then I'm losing something. I'm losing that privilege. And it goes both ways. Like, I mean, even, not talking about, like, LGBT issues, just white people in general, especially in, the United States. Like, it is that white fragility of, if we give people of color equal rights and, stop the cops from just murdering them wantonly, and all the other things, that happen, like, that's impacting my life. But it's not. Leveling the playing field has no impact on you whatsoever, other than you're no longer getting undue benefit. Like, and that sucks for you, but we should be going for egalitarianism.
I agree. They want to have the right to be able to misgender people, to be racist, to just be outright assholes without consequences. And that's how it used to be. But the world has changed and it's not like that anymore. There's consequences for
shouldn't be right.
That's equality. That's equality.
Being an asshole is not a right.
No, but the problem in America is that we got equality because when Obama came, we were all equally broke. And then everybody, was like, what about my protected class? What about my protected class? And what happened is that the average cishet white guy became disenfranchised. And so all the old stories, all the propaganda is like, this is my country, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're all here equally. If you were born here, you're an American. If you're patriated here, you're an American. That's just the way it is.
I just realized, babe, that you are our token person of color in this stream.
Hey.
It's okay. I need a token straight white guy for my D&D group.
Kitty is awfully pale. That's white as a color. Really, really white as a color, isn't it?
Yeah, no, like I have the whole alabaster skin going on. Like my skin is fresh, is lily white as fresh fallen snow. But that's because I don't go out in the sun. Because one, I'm a night owl. 2, I'm a vampire, and 3, I'm not going for Miss Melanoma 2020.
I get it.
9, like I don't want skin cancer. And like, here's the thing. I think I look damn good for my age. Most people think that I'm in my mid-20s. I'm in my mid-30s. So
you're hot.
Let's be honest here. Modern 30s look like 20s 50 years ago on account of like the cigarettes and shit. Like the ridiculous amounts.
I smoked for 10 years, and I still look like this.
Nice.
See, I was going to guess that you were low 40s, early 40s.
Oh,
sorry.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're attacking somebody else tonight.
Honestly, I would affect her in her mid-20s.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm about to start quoting Carmen Gia from the producers. Like, if your intention was to aim an arrow straight for my heart, bullseye.
Hey, I'm just gonna put this out there. Fun fact: I'm as old as Dragon Ball. So.
Oh damn!
I need to redeem myself.
Just don't be coming for my Widow's Peak having ass, okay?
Shave it.
Wait, hold on. I gotta redeem myself here. Kitty, you are absolutely stunningly lovely. And I am completely jealous of your skin and your overall look.
I'm not actually mad. I'm just playing with you.
I hate you, okay?
I feel like we meant to end this stream like
we were working towards ending the stream. So has anyone else got anything to add? And then we'll roll into people can show themselves. So
actually, there was a comment that Robert X made in the side chat I thought should be highlighted. He said, you can change any law you want, but it won't help as long as you don't change the people, too.
Absolutely.
The laws are not really going to protect people if you don't change public opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the laws change repercussions. People change what goes on.
And times are changing. I mean, slowly. Too slowly, but they are changing, and the younger people are much more. The times they are changing, but no,
me too.
Honestly, it's a great song, but and it makes me think of The Watchmen, which I love that film. I mean, there's some issues, but anyway, back on point. The times are changing, and I think it's because younger people are much more open and accepting, and younger people tend to be allies, and good allies, not just virtue signaling I'm an ally, but then secretly they're actually doing shit that is really not being an ally. And part of that too, I think, is the interconnectedness of the modern life. We're talking to people. There were communities where you would never come across a gay person or a lesbian or bisexual or pansexual or a black person. Literally, there's so many minority groups that you might never have contact with, and then it's easy to dehumanize them if you've never met one. But the fact
very
is,
much so,
because we're communicating with each other, we have people in different states, different countries, all on this chat right now, connecting with people all over the world in the chat. And because we can connect on a more personal level, getting to know each other, it helps to humanize abstract concepts. Because you might think, oh, LGBTQ, but if you've never met one, it's just an abstract in your mind that you might not actually be able to understand. It's like my son and not understanding the concept of why. He's on the autism spectrum. He doesn't get why. And, if you have no frame of reference, then others can influence your opinion, or you might just have misconceptions of your own based on things that you hear or see. And ultimately, the best way forward for making more allies is to kind of continue what we're doing and making friends with people in different places and having these online communities and support groups and pride meetups. And it's going to take time until we truly have equality. And it's similar in some ways to, how in America you've got, Black Lives Matter, and people will say, oh, all lives matter. And it's like, yes, all lives do matter. But right now, some lives matter less than others. And until everybody's equal, all lives can't really matter.
Exactly.
And so until we can raise everybody up to that egalitarian, equal playing field, like, once we no longer need allies, then by all means, punch down. Like, you're not really punching down anymore. You're punching sideways, and that's cool.
Exactly.
Ricky Gervais can tell all the shitty jokes he wants if he's punching sideways because we're equal. But if we're not, then, don't.
The great George Carlin always said, as soon as you start punching down in humor, you lose the joke.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
Oh, George Carlin was. I miss him. I miss him. He was so good.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay,
I just wanted to add a couple things.
Okay, go, Jeannie.
Sorry, and stop me if I go on a rant. But
No.
Speaking of the newer generations, I do wonder how do we bring up, because as a parent myself, is like how do I bring up this certain topic, and especially when most of my family are saying, hide it and don't let them know about this, because then they'll know the evils of the world or the worldliness. And on both sides of the family, they're pretty religious. And
with my son, whenever an issue gets brought up, I address it immediately. He'll say something, and I'll either say, oh, that's a good idea, or say, well, in today's world, we don't think like that. Because my son's heavily influenced by the things. Jen's heard me try to redirect him many times because he falls. My son has autism, but he falls into these YouTube holes, and he'll come running out with his new philosophy. He'll say, I'm a communist, or I'm this, or I'm that, and then I ask him, what does that mean to you? So you have to address the issue and tell them what it means to you, and say, and especially if it's a conflict. My son comes to me and he says, I'm anti this, and I'm like, well, I'm pro this, and this is why. So, you kind of have to present your side.
I think the funniest bit is your son really wants to come to Australia, but he hates our gun laws.
Exactly.
It's the funniest thing. He will go on these great big rants about Australian gun laws, and I go, how many people are being killed in your area lately compared to mine?
Quite a few.
I think that open, honest communication, like the same way me as an atheist is, planning on teaching my son about religion. I'm not going to endorse any religions. I'm going to explain to him, teach it like a world religions class of, okay, these people believe this, these people believe that, and just lay out the facts for them. And if they have questions, answer them honestly. I remember a few years back, they had the Macy's Day Parade, and they actually had the Kinky Boots Broadway show actually had a number during the parade. And there was this huge outcry over it because there were men in high-heeled boots and dresses.
I remember that.
They're like, how do we explain this to our kids? And I'm like, well, you can take the G-rated of, they're actors, and sometimes actors wear costumes, and it was a costume. Or you could take the more nuanced approach of, well, there are some people, that, dress differently, or they dress closer to how they feel as opposed to what other people see them as. They're just being themselves. Or you can get into the nitty-gritties of, okay, here's what transgender is. That comes down to the age and how comfortable you are at having those conversations with your child. But it very much, like, you can find a way to pare it down to the simplest concepts that would be easy to digest and don't require getting into the really nitty-gritty details, especially if the child is younger. Again, just, it's costumes, they're actors, and leave it at that. And then if they're older, then you can say, oh, well, this, that, and tailor it for the age of your child and how comfortable you are with it. But I think the truth is always better. It's like, I'm doing Santa Claus with my son.
You can dish out your truth in small spoons. You don't have to give them the whole bowl of truth to start off with. You can give it to them a spoon at a time, but just make sure you stick with what's true. So your truth can leave details out, which you can fill in later.
That's like the kid who went to his father and said, "Dad, where do I come from?" And the dad said, "Oh my God, I got to talk to my mom." And they sit down and go over everything for a couple of hours, and they finally end up. And that's how kids are born. He says, "Oh, well, Billy's from Philadelphia. I would wonder if we were too."
I think that's a good question that the kid is asking before you answer it.
I think that's a good joke to end on.
It is,
because Perp stream is going to be starting in 39 minutes.
So unlike last week, let's let Perp shield himself first. Let's go on, Perp.
Yeah, well, yeah. Just over half an hour, I'll be doing my Midnight Mid-America. I do that every week. Also, I'll be doing Dave's Critical Questions tomorrow morning at 10:30.
Awesome.
Yay.
Awesome. We love critical questions around here.
Kitty, you should come watch it sometime. I'd love to have you in our audience.
Like, I guess it comes down to like timing for me, because like I tend to sleep in a bit because I usually have a lot of trouble falling asleep. And my son tends to stay up super late because, again, he'll go until he crashes. So like my schedule's a little wonky, but I will definitely try.
Well, yeah, Dave's been trying out a bunch of different time slots.
Yeah, so have a talk to him and see where he's still got free spots for people.
Awesome.
You could certainly get on. So we're on Kitty. What have you got?
Yeah, 2 days ago the show started at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah. What have you got coming up, Kitty?
I actually next week, Godless Granny is going to be interviewing somebody, and I'm going to be there as a backup, like when she interviewed somebody before, because like sometimes her internet can get a little wonky. So I'm just there, kind of. I'm the ripcord, you know. So that is the 19th. I believe it's at 3:00 Eastern. But don't quote me on that. Like, I would have to double check the time, but definitely go like and subscribe to her. I haven't really started making content of my own. I'm mostly just, shuffled around between a few people that like to have me.
For you when you do.
And I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Aside from that, my regular signing off of, pandemic's not over, wash your hands, wear a fucking mask, socially distance, like get the vaccine when it is available to you. Like, we're not going to reach herd immunity till 2022, so we're probably going to have to still wear masks throughout the entirety of this year. So just keep that in mind. Don't be stupid, and be safe and be well, and be a decent person. Don't be a dick. Like, number one rule of the universe. Don't be a dick. Like, if everybody followed that, we wouldn't even have to have this stream.
Oh, we wouldn't need this conversation at all. If everybody lived by don't be a dick.
I definitely say that's rule number one. Definitely.
Be a dick. Johnathan, what have you got happening?
I'm Johnathan. Mostly you can find me trolling AIG, Answers in Genesis, on Twitter. I am at Dishonest Ape. But I actually have something coming up. In February, I will be debuting a D&D podcast with some of the other atheist background members of the community. And I'll just go ahead and drop that in the YouTube chat if that's all right.
That's
awesome.
absolutely fine, Johnathan.
Drop pretty much everything.
Yeah, it might not drop it if I have an Opti. I'm not sure if I did. Where are you?
Looks like it went through.
It did?
Yeah, my boyfriend says in the chat it's going to be so good.
Yeah, and no,
and he is not biased at all.
Just type hello in the chat, Johnathan.
We like biased people. Being biased is okay.
Just type hello in the chat or something, just so I can see your name come up, and I'll mod you so that you can. Yeah, there we go.
I'm John.
It's okay to be biased.
There you go. Now you can post your link.
Yeah, you just be honest about your bias.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, you can definitely post your link now, Johnathan. Everybody's main links for like Twitter, and if they've got YouTube channels, their YouTube channels is down in the description, so you can pick it up from down there. And please follow all these people at least on Twitter. Yeah, because most of us, if we make content, we post about it on Twitter anyway. So even if you don't to YouTube if you follow on Twitter. But if they've got YouTube channels, follow them anyway because the numbers help.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
Jenny.
send me some coffee. Send me some coffee on Ko-Fi, everybody.
Yeah. Jenny's got a coffee
need to buy
link, but that's not actually down in the description. Oh, not everybody here at the moment has a link in the description because some people were added during, like Jenny and Nikki and Junie, and I haven't added them yet, so I apologize for that. But they will be added later to the description.
No worries.
So what she means is like the video so you can find it easier later.
Sorry, what was that, Jenny?
I'll be on later with Purple.
With Purple, yeah.
I said I'll be on later with Purple.
And then you'll be on with Dave.
And then tomorrow morning we have Dave's question show, and then Saturday Dave's question show, and Sunday Dave's question show.
Yeah, Dave's question show on Saturday will be absolutely brilliant because Katie Montgomery is the guest. So
nice.
And I think everyone's sort of fangirling about that a little bit, but
I'll be asleep. What time is that?
I'll be on that stream, but I'm not fangirling because I've known Katie for a while and I've been on streams with her before. So
I've only become aware of Katie quite recently.
Who is that?
Who is that?
Who's this Katie person?
Well said, Jen. Junie, what have you got coming up?
Oh, let's see. I know I still continuing the Sunday service sins, but I also wanted to do a couple of like PSA type videos in regards of the vaccine and wearing masks, how it doesn't deplete your oxygen. I know there's plenty of those out there, but there's a few people that I know that will need something like that. That I know that watch my content, and so that's why I'm doing some of the things like this. And then eventually I will continue doing working on my pop culture versus religion series, and also eventually I want to go into deconversion stories, and eventually I want to get in as many guests as I can with the live streams.
Cool.
Awesome.
Your content is really stunning, Junie. So anyone who isn't subbed to Junie, please go and do that. Junie's link, unfortunately, her link isn't in the description because I added Junie later. But I'm sure Robert X is doing a wonderful job in the chat posting links. We'll post it in a second. If not, I think you have ops in there, Junie, if you want to post it yourself. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
Nikki, what have you got coming up? Because I believe you're taking a big role with what have they renamed the show to? Because I've forgotten
Generation
now.
Debunkers.
Yeah.
Generation Debunk. I don't know what's going on with that right now.
Yeah.
But it is
hiatus because of what happened with Bull.
It's hiatus because of a lot of stuff that's been going on.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I am a regular on VTW on AT2 Productions channel. And I have a GoFundMe / PayPal going on for my PC build because I'm going to be a proper YouTuber at some point in time, and I need a decent computer to do that.
Yeah, a computer often helps.
Yeah, I started on my phone. So.
Well, for what my content is, it requires a computer. And I've already stuck $1,000 into it. So, yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
But I can pop up, and I can you can give me a wrench, and I'll
can have
pop my pin comment to the on my
I
Twitter.
think you have a wrench, Nikki. I'm not sure though. If people in the group, I haven't got a wrench. Type something, and I'll. No, you don't. Okay.
I did.
You do now. So yeah. So I want to thank you all my guests who are still here with us now. Perps, Johnathan, Kitty, Jenny, Junie, Nikki, and those who've already gone, like Sammy, Sam. Is there somebody else who left? Mental blank. Complete mental blank. And of course my lovely other half, Will, who couldn't do these shows without him because you're such an integral part of this.
Oh, thank you.
Go and sub to Will.
Actually, I have one more small self-plug.
Go for it, Peps. Go.
I've recorded some audio for Atheist Edge that he'll be using in some upcoming episodes. I don't know exactly when.
Oh,
Awesome.
Cool. Oh, keep
Heck
us
yeah.
informed and keep it tweeted out so we can keep an eye out.
And next week we'll have another WTF show.
Yeah, well, it might be a tad controversial next week, but we'll let everybody know as the show gets closer. Not that we haven't been controversial already, but
I like controversial.
It depends on how much I feel like being canceled next week.
Yeah.
Depends on how the inauguration goes after.
I've been canceled a few times already, so.
So to everybody in the chat, thank you for persevering with us and being with us this week. You're all wonderful and we love you. Yeah, and we will catch you on the next one. And aside from me, there should be a Stump Gen on Saturday night my time, which is early morning for you guys on Saturday that are in the US, and afternoon times for people in the UK. So there's that happening over the weekend, and at some point when I've got time, I will be doing a pre-recorded video about oral sex, as you all know. But I just haven't had time. I honestly haven't had time to partake of oral sex.
Jenny, you have something?
Yep.
I was wondering if we could all get together and donate a couple of phone books so Nikki can sit up into the screen a little bit. all I see is eyes up.
I'm on my phone. I just gotta tilt my phone.
Yeah, it's hard to hold it. All right, thank you everyone, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.